Thank you
Hey,
so much. I really, really do appreciate it.
no problem. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's awesome to be here.
Lucy. Um, how did you get your name, by the way? How did you get your stage name?
So, I used to actually play as Stefan Viljoen. Before I was doing what I'm doing now, I used to be more dominant in the trance scene. So I'm just adjusting the slides a bit. And when I started to rebrand and sort of go more into back into my roots, which was more the house and the deeper side of things, then I had to get a new name to sort of branch this out with. And I was very stuck for quite a long time. I actually couldn't find anything. And then it was actually my beautiful lady, Madeline Dakota. She had the idea. I just had the shirt that said Jack's Cab. It was random. I got it for like 30 Rand at Melts in Boxburg like 15 years ago. And yeah, it just sort of, I actually didn't like it at first, but I needed something we were going to print and sort of went with it and it grew on me and it worked.
Absolutely. My second question to you is, if you could tell your younger self anything, what would it be?
Anything music related or anything in general?
Anything, anything in general.
In general.
It doesn't relate to the
Um,
personal. It can be whatever.
Well, I'm quite grey, as you can see, so there are quite a few years behind me. So I'd probably tell myself to put every cent I have in the S&P 500 and set myself up for life 20 years later. But in all seriousness, I would say to explore things a bit more when it comes to sort of what you think you want to do. Like if I look at the routes that I took just in careers and work and everything that I did, the things that I thought I wanted to do actually turned out really not to be the things that I want to do. And you'll never really know that until you actually sort of do the things. And so I think to be kind to yourself and give yourself a bit of leeway and take every opportunity to sort of just gain experience, even if it's a field that you don't think you're going to like, but then also to stick to the ones that really do resonate with you, even if they're hard. Because honestly, I think if I had pursued music and studio and things the way that I have when I was older, when I was younger, I could have been a lot further. But I only really did a lot further in my career when it was a lot harder to sort of take risks and, you know, to do things that are sort of not your standard kind of job or career.
Absolutely. My third question to you: what would you give? What advice would you give today's youth that would like to enter the industry?
I would say, again, I'll say something about a bit more general of life, and I'll say something then, I suppose, about the music. I would say, from music perspective, the industry has changed a lot. I think you need to try and forge your own path. It's very difficult in the beginning, particularly when you start seeing, you know, you want to get gigs, you want to be seen to, or I mean, you just want to have what you see your idols having and your peers having, and so often you try to do whatever you think is going to replicate to get you there. But by the time you sort of getting that momentum, the industry has already changed again. You know what I mean? You need to sort of find a way to forge your own path, and nobody can tell you how to do that. But it starts with definitely not trying to just jump on a bandwagon or copy something. You need to stay true to your roots as well. That is one thing that I did, that I think I did do right, is I stuck to the sounds I wanted to produce. I stuck to the sounds that I wanted to push, even when they weren't popular at the time. And then, you know, things change and then they do become popular. Then maybe they change again. But just stick to your roots and find a way to forge your own path. And then I would say, finally, on the music side of things, don't be scared to change. Like you know, probably the biggest brand I've ever had and the strongest I've ever been in the market was when I was still doing trance back in the day. But it just wasn't fulfilling me anymore. And I had to take the leap and make the change. And it was scary because what was going to happen with my gigs, what was going to happen with my, you know, the brands that I already built. But if I didn't take it, I probably wouldn't be doing music still. So don't be scared to change and to adapt, whether it's with genres or just explore whatever is fueling the passion. If you're not getting that feeling from the music anymore or from what you're doing, then you need to look elsewhere.
Absolutely. My other question to you is, what inspired you to create Robin Recordings? Well, I'm not sure if I'm saying this right. Sorry, if I am. If I'm not, I'm sorry.
No, you got it right. It's Round Robin Recordings, and honestly, I think thinking back to it now, I don't know. I wanted a platform that we could use to put out our own music. but I sort of, I think I just saw what other brands are doing and I was inspired by it. And I wanted to find a way to make that our own. But I did make a mistake that I see a lot of people making now. And luckily I was able to sort of push through it. But a lot of people open labels. There's so many labels opening. And I think a lot of guys open them in haste when they don't fully understand the commitment it takes and the work that it takes and the expenses that goes into it. And they think that that's what they actually want to do. And once you're actually running the label and you see what it actually, you know, what it's actually involved in running a label and what you get out from it, it's not always what they expect. And I sort of did that. I think when I started the label, it wasn't actually what I expected. But then after, you know, I just saw it through, I kept pushing. And then when we started finding our groove, which actually took quite some time to get the momentum that we needed, and when I really started finding a way of making it our own, then it started getting really rewarding. But I think at the time, it was just a wanting a platform to put out my own music and also to help grow other artists. You know, at that point, you know, obviously there's always bucket list labels that you still want to sign to, but at that point I'd already had my releases on Armada and Black Label, Black Robin, and Black Hole Recordings is the other one that I was trying to think of, and there's a couple of others. And I still had goals, but I wanted to start giving other artists those stepping stones and ways of sort of making their way to having releases and targeting their local markets. Yeah,
Absolutely. My other question to you is, what advice would you give people that would like to open their own record labels, and what have you learned from that experience? What have you learned from creating one of the biggest record labels in South Africa, in my opinion?
So it's actually interesting that you're asking me that, because just this week I was going down like a little internet rabbit hole and I was looking just for some inspiration. I was looking at videos of other people from other big labels, much bigger than mine, you know, sort of speaking on the same subject. And like a lot of the things resonated with me if I knew that when I first started. But if you want to start a label, you need to, first of all, you need to understand why you want to do it. If you are tired, if you've been sending out your music and it's not getting signed and you're being rejected, and you know, you just haven't been hitting the milestones that you want to hit, and so you think to yourself, okay, I'm going to make a record label and, you know, start doing it that way. I think that's the wrong reason. If you're going to do it that way, I would say just distribute the music yourself. You don't need to actually start a label. Just put it out to yourself. If you want to create a culture around something, and if you want to sort of bring other people into that culture with you, because I mean, that's the whole point of a label, you know, it's a collective. Some guys do obviously have labels just for releasing their own music, but I mean, you should be doing it. The label is the provider to the artists, giving them the tools that they need in order to develop them and get them, you know, to go further with their music. And that has to be the real passion. That has to be what you want to do. You need to really have a passion for looking at artists that are maybe not being noticed, or picking up tracks that other people are not picking up, or finding artists that are amazing, but they're not quite there yet. You know, they need assistance with certain things, but you can sort of see that the diamond in the rough, you know, and then you take the artist and you help them, whether you are providing them a studio time, whether you are facilitating those artists collaborating with other vocalists or other artists for collaborations, or putting remixes together, but assisting the artists with putting together packages and sort of growing and expanding their you know, their tool sets, and then helping them with the mixing and mastering side of things and the promotion and getting their music promoted to the correct people. And that, if that is your passion and you want to take somebody from point A to point B and help them get there, then that is, I would say, the correct sort of reason to want to open a label. And if that is what you're doing, then I would say you can pursue it. I would say you should definitely look at your close circle around you. Okay, your friends are going to be your best assets. You know, get somebody that believes in the process and your vision as much as you do, and then you take those people and you first do the groundwork. I mean, this is before you even gonna, you know, get close to putting something out publicly. You need to make sure that you have enough music. I would say, depending on how often you want to release, make sure that you have a good couple of releases already in the pipe and ready to go. Make sure that you have decided who your distributor is going to be, how you're going to report to artists, how you're going to be doing the legal work and all these sort of things. Because if you're not doing that, these things are going to catch up with you later, and they are going to hinder your progress with the label, or they're going to, you know, they're going to actually stop things. You know, maybe if you don't, before you do anything, you know, make sure that your distribution is correct and the way that you're going to report to artists, and that when it gets to a step and you can't do it, it could burn bridges, it could cause a lot of problems. So make sure you do the groundwork first, and make sure that you have enough momentum so that when you hit the ground running, you can really sort of keep it going and be consistent, because it's one of the biggest things with running a label is being consistent.
Absolutely. My other question to you regarding recording and record labels and stuff. What is the right way to sign, master, and everything? If you don't know how to master your music properly, what is the right elements to use?
So okay, so if you look at the mastering side of things, I definitely think that as an artist, you know, there's a lot of things that you need to be doing yourself. You need to be making your music. You need to be, although you will often, a lot of artists will collaborate, and particularly if you look at big releases, if you actually go to the credits, you'll see how many people are involved with a record. But the mastering and the mixing side of things is one part that you can definitely outsource, and you shouldn't be wasting too much time on. Learning to mix and master properly. Mixing is one thing, but learning to master properly takes years and years and years. And if you're going to get so fixated on that, it's actually going to stop you from putting out music. So it depends on your goal. If you want to be an engineer and you want to be a mastering engineer, by all means do that. If you are a producer or a DJ, or you want to run a label, trying to do that yourself is, first of all, it's ridiculously expensive, but it's so time consuming, and there's so much trial and error involved. It's really going to hinder your progress. In that case, honestly, make the music. If you can mix it yourself, mix it. If you can't mix it, then outsource that, and definitely the mastering you want to outsource. Just like I said, not to you know, obviously I'm a mastering engineer, so it's kind of like asking a tire salesman if you need new tires, but it is the truth. You know, it's not something that you should be concerned about if that isn't your primary goal.
My other question to you is, what have you learned about yourself this year that you didn't know about yourself?
Sure, putting me on the spot here. This year, what did I learn? I would say I've learned, probably not just this year, but sort of going into this year, I've learned that at this phase of my life, I'm actually quite content with being more behind the scenes. You know, previously as a DJ and artist, you know, you sort of always want to be at all the events, and you want to be, and it's important as well to do those things. But at the moment, I'm really content, really focusing, and just sort of being a bit withdrawn, but focusing on the bigger goals and putting in the work that needs to be done, you know, to achieve those things, and not necessarily always having to be on the front end of things. I suppose, you know, probably there's also been a lot of things this year that's changed for me. But yeah, I don't think that's the best answer, but I suppose on the spot, that's probably where I'm at. But yeah.
Absolutely. My second to third question to you, last question to you is, if you could create a song that describes the sound that you currently are in, what would it sound like? If that makes any sense.
So it makes perfect sense. However, it's not me. So one of the biggest, I'll go off on a bit of a tangent here, but in order to be a successful artist, particularly if you look locally, look at all your favorite guys, the guys that are really dominating their scene. They are ridiculously consistent with a particular sound that they're pursuing. You know, whether it's house or techno, and even within those subgenres, you know, whether they're doing tech house or deep house or whatever. And that's how they build their brand. That's how they really start headlining all those events, because they get known for that sound and their brand. One of the reasons, for me, I'm creatively just not like that. So it's also one of the reasons why, personally, even on the label, you see, I don't always release that much, because I am literally at the moment when, you know, if I want to make a sound that really describes what I'm feeling at the moment, there's so many sort of techno records that I'm really loving, but at the same point in time, I'm actually busy on the back end writing, working on some pop music, because I had this this ridiculous goal, like I want to make a record that sounds like one of these commercially, I've got a particular few tracks that I've been looking at, and I was just inspired to make something like that. On the other hand, and you know, I'm still busy working now on some sort of deeper, more dubby melodic grooves. So I don't have a particular sound. I don't have a, if I did one track to describe all my sounds, it would be all over the place. But I'm really inspired by, I mean, I can sit and listen to rock music and from an engineer's perspective be so inspired with how that record was made, and then go straight to studio and apply all of that to a techno track. You know what I mean? So I would definitely wouldn't have a particular sound to describe myself.
Absolutely. It makes sense. Quick question: how did you make how the rave is, whatever that song is? I absolutely love that song. It's
the rave is, yeah.
I absolutely love that song. How did you make it? What inspired you to make it? What space were you in when you created it? That beautiful song.
So that track, actually, like all my tracks, my songs take quite long to finish. I'm not one of those guys, like I'm working with guys at the moment and they send a track and I mean, it's so quick the way that they produce. I mean, it's a week or two and the track is done. I'm not like that. I sort of start ideas when I'm inspired and then I work on them, and often they change, and this track was one of those. So for me, it's often from a technical perspective, I'll be in studio and like a lot of my tracks, I get like a new piece of gear. Like my one track on Underground Africa, I literally, it was when I got the SSL Fusion, and all I was doing was I was playing with the Fusion, trying to get things, testing the saturation on kicks, and that actually inspired that whole song. So with Home Is Where the Rave Is, it started with a techno. I wanted to do a techno track with a really big lead on, which I did, and I started sort of with that. I was actually a lot deeper when it first started. It had a big sort of melodic arpeggiator in it and things like that. And so I started with the kick and the rumble, and I really had that rolling bass the way that I wanted it. And I was stuck with that for a while. I was sitting there and I was working on other records. And then I was playing with some synth work and with one of my analog synths, and then trying to replicate that, but to a higher degree in some of the digital side of the VSTs that I'm using. And I was playing around, and that's when I came up with that acid line. And then also sat forever. I couldn't get it to fit the track with the other elements, and I deleted all the rest of the elements. And then the last phase of it was I sort of got that big sort of lead sound that hits after the break. And then I sort of had the track together, but I wanted to do the vocal. And that vocal that's in the track had been stuck in my head for 3 years probably. There were so many previous tracks I attempted to put it together, but when it comes to vocals and sort of creative writing in that sense, it's not really my core talent. And so I was stuck with it for a long time. But then I sort of got something together, and as you can hear from the vocals in the track, it's inspired by all of our local parties. So I mean, we're referring to Wildlife and Modular and Twilight and Deep Town, and I mean all of them are in there if you go listen to them. But basically I managed to sort of get a structure for the vocal, and then that was sort of the largest bit of inspiration, just playing with that, a lot of ridiculous effects. And then once I had all those parts, it's often like it for me, I write tracks in parts. It's almost like making my own sample packs. When I had that done, I could just put that track together, and then it went quite quickly.
Okay, well, beautiful. My second to last question to you is, how has the music industry impacted the sound that you have right now?
I would say it has a huge impact on me, but it's I would say for the sound that I have now, definitely there's sort of two, from what I can see in the techno scene at the moment, there's sort of two sounds that are dominant at the moment, you know, depending on the markets that you go into. And I've been inspired with both of the sounds, and that's sort of on the techno side of things. I've been influenced a lot by like really big lead lines and sort of the slightly noisier side of techno. But then on the sort of more hypnotic and deeper side of things, I've been inspired quite a lot with just how the guys are doing a lot of percussive based things, and a lot of the tracks are not too synth dominated. They're quite minimalistic. Also the tempos are going very fast, so that's definitely influenced some of the records I've been doing a lot. At the moment we're busy with some deep sort of vocal melodic techno. That's a track that's going to be coming out quite soon, and that again has been inspired by actually different genres. So sort of like the deeper melodic side of things, like you were hearing on maybe like Afterlife, but like 3-4 years ago, certain elements on the drums and that. But then on the lead sound, I've been more inspired by what's been happening in the techno scene. So now I'm collaborating those two sounds. So like I said, I really draw inspiration from so many different genres. And I would say, just to add to that, on the engineering side, I would say it's actually been more the commercial side of things, like on sort of the harder rock sounds and things like that, that have been influencing how I've been sort of engineering tracks towards the end and pushing the loudness and the crunchiness, sort of that final process and that final sound that you get when it's fuzzy and a lot of sort of analog clipping and things like that. I've actually been inspired more by the metal and rock scene.
Beautiful. My last question to you. How do you decide the people that you work with and decide on the people that you want to put on the label?
Whew. That is, sorry, this blue light is annoying me. Let me just push a button here. So that's a loaded question.
Sorry.
So choosing the people that I work with, I mean, obviously, that's something different. That's, with the label partners, those are friends that I've had since, as far back as I can remember, and they were teenagers. It's people that I trust. Within the industry, obviously, business relationships with people that I trust and that I see have had a lot of integrity in the scene. But when it comes to working on the label, signing to the label, I'm actually planning on, we have done a video on this before, but I'm going to do sort of an updated one. When you're sending demos to a label, there's so many things that we consider when receiving them. And actually with Round Robin Recordings at the moment, we're in a new season. There's a lot of changes happening, a lot of big things happening next year, and that we're busy setting up for. Hence, the changes that we just made with our distribution partners and the general business model of the label. And so we need to take all of this in account when signing demos. When we consider a record for Round Robin Recordings, first of all, the music comes first. Okay, music must talk. We really want to start. We need to make sure that every track that we sign is something that we believe in. We can't really have stocking fillers, if I can put it that way. We really want to look for something that is unique, stands out, and something that in some degree resonates with us. If I could see myself playing it within one of my various genres I'm playing in sounds and sort of sets, that's a big thing. But even then, there is a lot of good music coming around. In fact, there's so much, the tools available to make music are so vast right now. There are so many producers that can put out a track or give you a track that is technically at least on the correct standards. Okay, that's, that isn't really the problem anymore. So now the problem we have is we receive so many demos and so many of them are good. Okay, but when you're putting out a record on record label, it costs a lot of money to do so. Labels have got budgets that they're putting. There's a lot of marketing costs involved. There's a lot of engineering costs involved. There's design costs involved. The monthly running costs on the label are high. There's all these sort of things. And what artists don't always think of is a label is a business, and the music you're putting out is the profit, is the product. And through the revenue model that you have, you then first need to cover all of the costs first, and then the artist needs to get paid and the label needs to get paid. And at the moment, when you look at a record, you can only sign so many because of the budget, and you need to really think to yourself, which ones could we take on that we know that we believe in, that if we put this out, as a label, it's going to carry us forward and it's going to warrant the high expenses that go behind signing a track. So many people are discouraged, but if you ask that artist themselves, would you be willing to, sort out this mastering, get that design work done, do this promo video, pay for the promo, do the hype, get the blog post, do all this stuff. Once they see all of that, they wouldn't even do it for themselves for that track. Never mind, have somebody else do it for them. So it's a business model. You need to, if you had a clothing store and you were selling clothes, and you knew that you had to pay your staff, you had to have your store, you had to have everything else that comes with that. When you were picking stock and you have limited space, you would make sure that you're picking the best stock. When when those t-shirts whatever come in, you want a shirt that is like, this is absolutely amazing, like there's no way somebody's going to walk past this and not want it, you know what I mean? And that is sort of what has to happen with the music. That music has to, it really has to resonate with you to such a degree that you believe in it, that you can really push it out there, and that you can know that it's going to do what needs to be done. And then just the last thing, sorry,
No,
I'm babbling on a bit.
no
We're
worries.
looking for, you know, you really want to try and find the artists that are hard workers. Some artists will give you the track and that is it. Then there's just a lot of other artists. You can just see it. I mean, these artists, some of the artists we've worked with over the last year, it's been so inspirational, just how passionate they are, but how much work they put in. You know, they don't just expect you to do everything. The promotional work that they're doing, you know, the behind the scenes, the way that they are pushing to get their records into particular people's hands. I mean, obviously we're proming as well, but the more backup we have, the better. You know, making sure that they have proper press pictures, making sure that they have proper content available, providing us with the content. When we send a request and we need something from them, making sure that we get it quickly. If we get a really cool high profile remix for an artist, I mean, all right, we need particular things and they take 3 months to get it to us, we miss that opportunity. Where some of the artists jump at it, you know, literally, you know, a day or two and they get everything to you. They just, I don't know how to put it, I don't have examples on the top of my head, but they put in the work, and the artists that put in the work are definitely, you know, at the end of the day, you want to refine yourself to a small pool of those artists that's big enough to cater for your whole catalog.
Absolutely. I really enjoyed this conversation. And meeting you was a dream come true, honestly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for taking the time. I really do appreciate it.
No, it's my pleasure. I really love what you're doing. I think it's quite inspirational as well. Some of the people that you've been interviewing and just getting the information out there. I hope that, you know, that there's something here that resonates with somebody and that can help them on their own journey. And, you know, guys must just send questions, send them to the inbox. You know, we'll answer them in some form or another. We'll just reply or we'll do a video or something. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's, you know, you got us, that's the whole point and passion behind a label. You know, we got to bring people up with us.
Absolutely. Take care. Bye.
Thank you so much. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
I appreciate it so much.